Welcome. My name is Ed Zinkiewicz, and I have something to talk about today. I promised I would bring my friend Jerry Moore back and talk a little bit more about financial advisors. I hope today we can talk about why a financial advisor is important, what they can do for us, and how we go about choosing one. So, Jerry, thank you for coming. Would you please tell me a little bit, how does a financial advisor help me?
That's a great question, Ed. Generally speaking, having someone in your life to help bring chaos to order is a good thing. That person doesn't necessarily need to be a higher professional. In fact, it can be anyone who's willing to roll up their sleeves and just do the best they can, acting in the best interest for the person that they're helping. A professional in that capacity is known as a fiduciary, a person who has the requirement to act solely in the client's best interests. And whether or not you actually need to hire a financial advisor, a fiduciary, really depends upon the complexity of your situation. Perhaps there's a lot of accounts that need to be assembled, a lot of pieces of the puzzle that need to be put together. So a lot of times it is helpful to have someone on the team that can help keep things sorted out and keep things organized for you. There's a company called Vanguard who published research to try to determine, well, how much value does a financial advisor actually bring to the lives of their clients? It's a great question, and what was interesting to me was the results of the research indicated that it wasn't value being brought in the way of picking hot stocks or timing the stock market, but really it was behavioral coaching through advisor guidance. And really what that means is helping clients identify goals, put together a plan, a timetable to accomplish those goals, watch out for costs and taxes and estate issues that might come up. Generally speaking, just trying to keep the financial plan on track to increase the probability that the client's goals and dreams financially come true.
Wow. Well, I'm satisfied. I have a savings account. I have some CDs. What else do I need?
Well, that may be all you need depending on your emotional constitution. I've met individuals, and that was about as risky as they wanted to get, CDs. Regardless of their goals, it was CDs. And so there are people out there. What I suggest, though, is trying to visualize money belonging in one or all three separate buckets. A short-term bucket of money, a medium-term bucket of money, and a long-term bucket of money. And the goal is to try to match our goals with those buckets. For example, if we have a short-term goal, and for many people that's going to be paying the bills, we've got something, cash flow, for example. Emergency fund also could be a short-term goal. We might need to tap into that fairly quickly, and so that's going to be a perfect goal to park in a savings account, checking account, have it liquid and ready for us. Now the medium-term bucket of money, that's the bucket of money that we don't need today or tomorrow or next week, but perhaps that bucket of money we need, let's say, within the next 1 to 5 years. For example, you're saving for a major purchase, that's 1 to 5 years away, and having a CD. Perhaps you can ladder bank CDs to help get a little bit more interest rather than keeping it in a savings account. So that would be a medium-term, an example of a medium-term goal, medium-term bucket of money. Now the long-term goal, that's the third bucket, the long-term bucket of money. That's the bucket of money that we need to grow for the future, 5 years, 7, 10, and beyond. And for most people, that's going to be college planning or college funding, retirement funding, long-term growth that's needed, and so that's the bucket of money that we want to think about. And for most people, having a little bit of money in each one of those buckets makes sense. We have our emergency fund, we have our short or our medium-term goal, and then we have our long-term goal. So let's match the goals with the vehicles. I have seen people that have rolled that CD over every single year for 20 years trying to fund retirement. So in a way, they're kind of mismatched. They're using a short-term vehicle for a long-term goal, and not only do they miss out on the potential growth of that money is exposed to inflation, what we call or can think of as financial rust.
Rust. Wow. So, well, let's talk about retirement a little bit and that CD that you What would you put it in? What kinds of things can be invested? You're not going to go out and play in the stock market, are you?
No, I don't do that.
You don't do that?
No.
Okay.
There's generally, I guess three. If you were to watch the news or read the newspapers and you see the advertisements, the approaches to investing money, it's going to fall in one or three, or maybe all three. One, you can try to outsmart the market. For example, you can try to time the market. Is it going to be up? Is it going to be down? You can try to pick hot stocks. That would be the second. So forget about the market being up and down. I want to pick some hot stocks and try to make money that way. And the third alternative, this is the alternative that I use, is more of an academic-based approach, and that is a risk-based, so getting an idea of goals and risk and building portfolios that are compatible with a client's risk and what they're trying to do with the money. So it's not Jerry randomly picking things and throwing things against the wall, but there's a method to the madness, and it has a long tradition and is academically based.
Yeah, so you're really trying to match the way you do it with the client's preferences and comfort level.
Right, and it has to make sense for the client. They've got to feel good about it, and it's going to get the job done.
Well, what does a financial advisor do for retirement? Have we covered it all, or is there something else?
No, I think we have. We've covered a little bit left to cover. In my opinion, a financial planner should be willing and able to provide the information and education to help their clients make smarter decisions with their resources. And everyone's different, so everyone's preferences are different, their resources are different, and so therefore there's no one-size-fits-all solution that can be pulled off a shelf and implemented in everyone's situation. Particularly with people that are getting ready to retire, because not only do you have the normal pieces of the puzzle and the complexities of each piece of the puzzle, but now we're talking about Social Security, we've got Medicare, potentially chronic illness issues, we've got legacy desires. So what needs to happen in that situation is a thorough analysis to examine resources, timetables, to discuss and explore options and the trade-offs of the options, to finally come upon a set, a financial plan that works for the client, that gets the job done, that the client's comfortable with, and that is reasonable.
Yeah, sounds like the plan's kind of mobile, though. It changes over time. What does your role? How does your role change over time?
Yeah, the financial plan, in my opinion, would need to be monitored annually at least. So it's an ongoing. I think it's a living, breathing document, a financial plan. It's not something we want to write it up and put in a drawer and forget about. It needs to be reviewed annually. And that is a different experience than meeting with a financial salesperson that's really just trying to talk you into buying some financial stuff and complete a transaction. Also, just through a financial advisor's role changing over time, I will say I've been humbled and blessed, and just to work with clients whose needs change over time. I've been able to work with clients through their working years, through their retirement years, and then beyond all of that, beyond their life, and now we're working with their children and through their stages of life, and even their grandchildren, believe it or not. So in those situations, the families feel like they're part of my family.
You don't look that old, Jerry. All right, now here's the bottom line. How can I afford an advisor?
Yeah.
How does an advisor get paid? Sounds like you do an awful lot of stuff. How do I pay you?
Right. I think it's important and helpful and useful to keep in mind that behind every financial advisor, there's a business, and each business is different. It has its own unique set of economics. Some businesses may charge more for their services. Perhaps they have a lot of personnel. Perhaps they have nice office space, or maybe even upper management just wants to make some more money. So it's going to be different depending on the situation. I do think you will probably pay more working with an advisor who has advanced education, such as their CPA, an attorney, a certified financial planner. Not saying if you're working with a financial advisor that doesn't have those designations, you should avoid them, not at all. But I do think you'll benefit by working with a professional that's invested in their profession. And I think, just working with a financial advisor to identify what services they offer, compare that to your needs to see if there's a good fit between the two. In terms of compensation, my compensation is a combination of fees and commissions, depending on the situation. But I think it's really important to ask your financial advisor just the compensation mechanism. They should be able to outline the compensation, the costs of everything, as well as any conflicts of interest that might come into play. That could be answered in meeting number one with a financial advisor. And then you just have to determine if your needs and their services are well matched. What you sometimes might run into, though, is a financial advisor that has certain minimum requirements of, if your account is of a certain size, they may not be able to work with you. That's generally not the fault of the actual financial planner, but perhaps more of the business that they're working with have these requirements. But that's okay. There are plenty of other advisors, competent advisors out there that will work with you regardless of how big your 401k is, or even if you have a 401k.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm more in the minnow category than the whale category. So, hey, I found one that I could afford, and I haven't written him a check yet. So I think this commission thing has worked for me. I thought it was a good idea. I never see a fee. What I get to do is to talk to someone that I trust and that can help me along the way. And we have had several different stages of life working with Jerry. It's been a good experience. So there you have it. What they can do, how they can help, how they get paid, and what kind of assurance you have that they're going to do what you want them to and need to. Sounds like worth investigating. Talk to you another time.
This is Ed. Want to know when the next video's out? Click subscribe below and click the little bell. Better yet, go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. You'll get notified about new videos.